Special episode. We've brought a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to come in and talk about the Premier League. It's going to be an absolute stormer of one. Starting all the way to the extreme right, we've got Neil. Neil, how's it going?
It's going okay. It's going okay. Results haven't been going okay, so yeah.
We're recording straight off the back of Leicester 5, City 2. So.
Yeah. But it's going to be a long season. All right, and then to the left of him, we've got Malcolm. Malcolm, Wagwan.
How you doing? It's good to be here. Hopefully, this is the only time I won't be smiling as much because I really do want to get into this chat. But I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
To the left of myself, we've got Alvin. Alvin, how you doing?
Hey, what's good, man?
Fantastic. Enjoying the Arsenal?
Trying to, mate. I'm trying, but we'll see what happens.
And to the far left, we've got Mrs. Fry's little boy.
Yeah. I think one of us will be smiling at the end of this week. It's, I don't know who it's going to be.
Or both. It could be a draw. So just to start with, boys, I want this to go as free flowing as possible. But obviously, the big news from the weekend result is Manchester City 2, Leicester City 5. Neil, just initial thoughts on that game, but also give us an idea of ideas and hopes for the season, because up until the end of that game, Man City were favourites still in the league.
Yeah, which is kind of, I don't know, still makes me scratch my head a little bit because they've not been playing well lately. I think the depth in the squad is a massive issue. You look at last night with Aguero out, Jesus out, and you're relying on a 17-year-old to come in and lead the line for the second half. You know, and no disrespect to Liam Delap, it's great to see a young 17-year-old getting a shot, but is that the sort of a team with title aspirations? Is that what they should be doing? I mean, you look at when City won the title a few years ago and you had Aguero, Tevez, Dzeko, Balotelli, and then you move on. You even had the likes of Negredo, had a great half a season when he was there, and that quality is just not there in the depth. And it's the same with the back line. They've lost so many leaders over the past 2-3 seasons. You take Company, Yaya Toure, David Silva, even someone like Joe Hart was a leader. He was more of a presence, and Pablo Zabaleta, one of a pure fan favourite. You know, you take those characters out of the team, and who have they replaced them with? You've got guys in there who aren't, they just don't look like they want to be there a lot of the time, and there's lacking in leadership on the pitch, I think, massively, and a few curious decisions around squad selection with Bernardo Silva, for example. What's happening with him lately? You can't get people fit. You spend a lot of money on the likes of João Cancelo and don't play him. There's a lot going on that's not right, and yeah, for that reason, I don't think they deserve to be favourites.
I've got two questions. One serious and one not so serious. Has anyone seen the throw? What's the throw like on the new Delap?
Yeah, there is talk. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, he's declared for England, so I don't really care about
it. But more seriously, how much of the burden of the downturn and now having the squad with this? I mean, after the first game, before the first game, I sent Gal a screenshot of your bench. That was it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've heard three of these guys. One of them's Roy Delap's kid, and two of them are
Tommy Doyle is another one who's a good young player. He's had City in his blood through his grandfather not played for the club, and so he goes back a long way. And it's a good story, but it's a good story. It's not.
But how much does this, having such a thin squad, how much does that rest on Guardiola? How much of that's his fault?
I don't think he's done a lot in the transfer market. I think he's brought in 2 defensive players in the last since 2018. So they haven't really addressed the situation. They're now looking at bringing in Ruben Diaz from Benfica with Arsenal signed and Otamendi going the other way.
Yeah.
So you're looking to parachute him in with Nathan Ake. John Stones has fallen off a cliff as well. There was a lot of expectation around him. Laporte's injury has been a massive killer at the back because he's the presence. He's the guy you want to be your leader in there, and he was starting to show that he was coming in to take over from Company and potentially even be a captain long term. But that injury last year has killed him. He was on the bench recently, and you know we need to get him in there. But one player isn't going to make a difference, and that's the same further forward. You're looking at Kevin De Bruyne with the amount of rest on his shoulders, and to be honest, they can't keep relying on a 35-year-old Fernandinho to plug holes, whether it's at centre back or whether it's in the middle of the park.
Well, we did have one comment earlier that one player might make all the difference next year for them. What were you saying about that?
Oh, snap! I already forgot what I was saying.
Alvin suggested next year that Lionel Messi would be all the difference that happens next year.
I thought he was going to be the difference this year, but for me it was a case of now or never. This time round, I think next year he'll be 34. I mean, yes, it's Lionel Messi, but Do you want a 34-year-old version of him with the hype and everything that comes with him? You probably do. You probably take him. You're not going to say no.
You just
but
structure
is
a team
that
around him for 2 years and then
Yeah,
start
correct?
again.
Correct.
Yeah,
It's not a long-term prospect bringing him in when he's 34. You know, what do you sacrifice to fit him into the team? So you could lose out on a player like Bernardo Silva, for example, who play in a similar position, or does Phil Foden's development be more restricted by a player like that coming in? I think Foden has been one of the good stories to come out of City in the last six months or so. Forget his indiscretions on an England trip, but on the pitch, he's a fantastic footballer, and he's somebody that you do look towards. But again, it's just a kid that's been put in with a lot of expectation on his shoulders for a team that's meant to be challenging for the title. How many of the other top clubs are doing that? And as you say, with the bench situation, if you look at even whether it's Arsenal, Spurs, teams that are not favourites for the title, their benches will be a lot stronger than City's at the moment.
I got one more question before we go on to speak about Malcolm. But in terms of like City and Guardiola, maybe Guardiola in particular, like how much trust does he actually have on his players? Because it feels like one season he loves them, and then the next season he's like, I'll get a new one.
Once you're out, you're out.
Once you're out, you're out. So like Stones is a £50 million player. You've
But that's not
got
just
to
50
take
million. That's 50 million 5 years ago.
and even Bernardo Silva. So we know that Pep is fantastic and like neurotic at times as well. But how much of him just like, does he wear out players, or does he just not trust them? Because it doesn't seem like he'll just go, I can't work with this person, let's get someone else. Whereas a lot of coaches will either be like, let's see what best we can do with this player as well.
He's a control freak in terms of the way he structures the team. He has the pitch divided into sections, and he tells players to move into that particular section at a specific time. And you know, he gives them those sort of instructions. And if you try to be, a lot of people say, you know, City, Barcelona, they play this free-flowing attacking football, but it's actually very structured.
Very rigid, isn't
it? It's a very structured system with the fullbacks coming in and playing in midfield at times, and you know, he wants ball players all over the park, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of the creativity and players being allowed to express themselves, they're doing it within a very rigid system. So I think that has its pros and cons, because for the first couple of years, like, some of the football has been unbelievable to watch. It's been fantastic. But when teams work it out and they play, like Leicester have done to City a few times, is they've just played a Vardy on the shoulder, the last defender, drop balls over the top, and caused all sorts of problems, because 3 penalties conceded against Leicester. You know, 3 penalties by 3 different defenders. And not one of them learned from the mistake of the previous one. So they're very naive defensively, and a lot of that comes from not having to defend much, because if you have the ball for 75% of the game and you've got possession, how much defending are you actually doing? Then when you actually have to defend, you're not used to it.
But then when the thing that I look at then, when there's a quick counter attack, when there's a City, how many people are busting and gut to get back? The 3 or 4 times they have to run back in a game, how many of those midfielders, aside from Fernandinho, how many of those forwards are tracking back to put pressure on and to even just close down the player on the ball so they can't get that ball to Vardy over the top or whoever it might be? I think people also underestimate the difficulty of, you can sort of say, why don't you sit a bit deeper? Then all those zones you talk about these players that have had drilled in, you need to be here and here, when this happens, it changes everything. So your positioning changes, or your cues change, or your pressing triggers change, everything changes. So they're kind of stuck in this way that they're playing now, and if it doesn't have full buy-in and there's players that won't put that effort in when they need to, I think that's what happened against Leicester. It's not that you were the worst team, because they weren't. It's 3 stupid tackles, and a few players just, you know, De Bruyne's not expected to do it, but pretty much everyone else should at least be putting a shift in on the way back, and I just don't see it from them at the moment.
And I think in a team like City, as you say, if the defence gets exposed like that, they're all good defenders, but your mistakes become magnified when it's like when a goalkeeper drops one into his own net. He can save 10, 12 shots, but people will remember the one that he's dropped into the goal, or the back pass he sliced. With the City defenders, they make some great tackles. They protect the ball. They play it out from the back. You know, complete 95% pass completion rate. All this sort of stuff. But they get exposed naively by, say, someone like Jamie Vardy, and everyone's going, well, City's defence is terrible. There are some average defenders at times, and Otamendi has been a big one over the past few years. But Otamendi looked great when he had somebody alongside him who would talk him through a game. So when he had company beside him, he looked great. But if you put Otamendi in and expect him to be the leader of the back line, well, that's just not going to happen. So
Well, going from one team with great defense to a team with great defense as well, Manchester United. Look, give us a chat and tell us, one, the result against Brighton, absolute the Manchester United way of playing, I'm sure,
Smashed it.
but also just ideas for the season moving forward as well.
Look, I think we're receiving unfair criticism from the game against Brighton. It's not our fault they couldn't finish their chances. So, you hit the post 5 times, that's on you. Nah. Nah,
Get all the shots being fair, you gotta get them on target.
Yeah, you're on target.
You gotta get those
Nah,
shots
but
on
look,
target.
United look like a team that's still in pre-season. Absolutely, you know, I mean,
City too as well.
yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses because these are top players, but the reality is when they had, I think 2 weeks break, and then your players coming in, going to the international scene,
Some getting
getting COVID, one pre-season game against Aston Villa in which 2 teams were used. So one team played 45, another team played 45, and so I'm not sure how the FA or the people who make decisions have decided that there was enough time for not just United but some of the other teams in terms of getting themselves ready. But we take that out of the whole equation. United defensively shambles because of the way we're trying to play. Okay, at the moment, Ole looks like he wants to get high up the field, which means, like Man City do, obviously not the same ability, we're going to get caught on the counter-attack. Now, unfortunately for us, our 2 central defenders in Maguire and Lindelof cannot deal with the pace. They can't deal with the pace. We saw it with Wilfred Zaha against Crystal Palace, Schlupp taking them on, as well as Andros Townsend. Whenever United are in defensive transition, we look like conceding a goal.
But do you think a lot of that is down to the fact that teams just don't fear United anymore?
Well,
there's a lot of that you go into Old Trafford and no longer has it got that aura about it. It was, under the Ferguson era.
Been gone for
That's been gone for a long
That's
time.
exactly.
That's been gone for a long
That's the
time.
thing. There's no sign of United putting the fear into teams anymore.
But then for me, I'm not panicking too much at the moment because we're speaking off camera. During the restart, when we came back, United were arguably the best team after the restart. So they were the best team. However, we haven't improved that team. We haven't improved that team, and it's a worry at the moment. We've only got Van der Beek who's come into the side, but where we need to actually improve, we haven't done that, and it's very frustrating for United fans.
Do you think you need to improve on the pitch, or do you need to improve? I don't know. There's this guy called Pochettino who's out there. Because I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Sean and I send each other text messages
Yeah.
saying, "Long may they keep Ollie in there," because they've butchered that performance. They got the result, and he's going to stay there a little bit longer. He's going to stay there a little bit longer. He's going to stay there.
So here's the thing, right? When Ferguson retired and David Moyes came in,
This is a history lesson,
right?
by the way.
Yeah, and David Moyes came in, right? They gave him a 6-year contract, which was ridiculous in the first place.
Is that expired?
The length of contract was ridiculous, but I thought the appointment at the time, based on what Moyes had done for Everton, was the right appointment. So he asked for players. He only got one, Fellaini. Right? Fellaini comes in, 8 months, Moyes is gone. United bring in Louis van Gaal. Van Gaal goes and gets his type of players: Schweinsteiger, Di Maria, Falcao. He goes and gets the lot, right?
Are they still there?
I don't know where they're playing at the moment. He goes and gets the lot. Van Gaal gets sacked. Mourinho comes in. What does he do? He's got a different style to Van Gaal. Van Gaal's got a different style to David
And
Moyes.
as much as Pep, Mourinho's not going to bother with a player who doesn't like.
So in the same way, so you've got 3 managers in Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho who've each signed their own players. So in terms of the appointment of the managers, who's actually in charge of saying, this is how United play, this is the type of manager that we'll go and get? Because I can tell you now, if Guardiola decides to leave, Man City already have a plan of the type of manager that comes in. You look at Barcelona, Ronald Koeman's gone there because of the way that he plays. With United, it's as if we're just get a manager, and by the time the manager gets his players in, the cycle is already gone.
So rewrite history then. If you have full control over who United signed in terms of manager and when they let them go, you say you would have got Moyes in.
I would have got Moyes in, but for me, United, I think, should have kept Mourinho. Absolutely, 100%.
So you think Moyes didn't perform? They should have sacked him when they did.
Yes.
Van Gaal didn't perform. They should have sacked him when they
Van
did.
Gaal should have been given more time.
Okay.
Because, but with the FA Cup final, right? That was United's second year, And each season they were improving, and his style was starting to come into play. You look at what, and I hate to say it with Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp when he came in.
Just embrace it.
From a pure football perspective, right?
Yeah.
He came in and he said, "I need this much time to build my team, and this is what's going to happen." And credit to your scouting department, credit to your board, and whoever's in charge of the transfers, because you've gone and got Liverpool type of players that suit Jurgen Klopp's system. And that's been built over 4 years. You could see that Liverpool on the verge of doing something because the plan was in place. I don't know what the plan is at United right now.
Liverpool, as much as we, talk about how good the team is and the players and how much we love it all right now, there's a lot of luck that goes into timings for those sort of things. So getting Klopp when we had him, and everyone going like, "Wow, we finally got a coach that wants to come to us that's done it, that we can just trust in." And those first 2 years, there was shit. Like the performances were improving, but if we had, not to pick on Arsenal, but so Arsenal fans could very quickly turn when things go bad.
Yeah.
And I think Liverpool fans do as well, but I think because of Klopp's good record, he got that extra time. Whereas Van Gaal, the United fans aren't seeing him as someone that's won Champions Leagues or titles recently.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're sort of like, well, no, just
Because for me, if we sack Oli today and bring Poch in, right? He's gonna need a transfer window to get his players in, and is the patience there for that? So for me, there's a structural problem in Manchester United at the moment. We don't have a football director, which baffles me in this day and age. Our club, as big as Manchester United, does not have a football director who can get the structure of the club, what's the philosophy, how we want to play, what type of players we're getting in. In the transfer market, we are diabolical in the transfer market. We haggle over players. With Harry Maguire, Mourinho said, "I need Harry Maguire on the side." Leicester said, "Cough up 60 mil." Ed Woodward, not a chance. What do we do the next year? Bought him for 85. So whoever's in charge of our transfer situation at United at the moment, it's not good enough.
So
it's not good enough.
What are your... So going back to that, I was going to ask, what are your hopes and ambitions for Manchester United this season? What do you want to see from them?
Well, first things first, we need to improve the side. Will the Jadon Sancho deal happen? It's not looking likely at the moment. So, do we have alternatives? I don't know, but we should, because we can't rely on an 18-year-old Mason Greenwood to take us through the season. An inconsistent Martial, who's improved, but
Greenwood's
inconsistent.
also showed that he's got terrible decision making as well.
What happened in Iceland stays in Iceland. And look, I think we're at a stage now where, for United, if we can get a centre half, not just a centre half, a quick centre half to play alongside Harry Maguire, that'll be a place to start. I still think defensive midfield, because if you want to utilise Pogba to his best ability, he needs the best cover he can get. So I'm talking about someone in the same mode of N'Golo Kante. Someone of that caliber is someone United will have to bring.
To get one of them.
Not easy at all. And I still think we need a striker. I still think we need a striker because
it's literally centre back, centre midfield.
the spine of the team.
You've got the new goalkeeper on the way as well. That Henderson.
Dean Henderson, I still back David De Gea, to be honest. Henderson, it's one thing being man of the match for Sheffield United. It's one thing being the number one keeper for Man United. So he'll get. He's talented, of course, and we back him. But I still think De Gea is one of the top keepers in the world, despite his inconsistent form. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
There'll be no mention of it.
Now's the time we should want to be talking about Chelsea. We all want to talk about Chelsea.
They've got no one here to defend them.
I want to go to Alvin now. Alvin, Arsenal have started the season really strongly. You ended last season really strongly as well. You've got a man who's a proper football man and understands the club. So before we even talk about the match with Liverpool, but what are you expecting and looking out from Manchester City, from Arsenal? Jesus, from Arsenal this season.
You talk about them a lot. To be honest, I think consistency is probably the number one thing. The thing that sort of holds Arsenal on a regular basis is just being able to put in consistent performances. So we're starting to see, specifically against Man City, funny enough, in the FA Cup, against Liverpool in the league, even against Fulham as well, we're starting to see a brand and a style of football. To be fair, towards the end of the season, it was really pragmatic. You didn't really have defenders that could defend, and that showed in our style of football. And it's probably going to show on Monday? Today's not a game.
Tonight.
Yeah. It's probably going to show tonight. Like I could see us lining up 5-4. But yeah, mainly consistency.
Well, that's the curious thing is, like, we can say this to Arsenal, we can say this to Arsenal, to Man City. Like, teams have a brand of playing, and you can tell what a Man City goal looks like. You can tell what a Jurgen Klopp goal looks like. Not so much what an Ollie goal. You can tell what an Ollie goal looks like. It's a counter-attacking goal, and towards the end of like the Unai Emery era, you had no idea what the structure was for the team, because you took one formation one week, another formation the next week. You'd have a completely different idea. Whereas right now it looks like Arteta has got a shape, a style, and you can see that we're playing up the back. We'll do the huge switch on to Aubameyang, and he'll just put in the top corner. So like, varying degrees of how high you can put in the top corner is. What's that like now, looking at your team and being like, shit, we know how to play?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to make Arsenal quite one-dimensional with that specific tactic. I felt specifically even against Liverpool at the Emirates, we were kind of able to break that game press, and pretty much Lacazette was able to capitalise on mistakes. Liverpool barely make mistakes, but when they do, you have to capitalise on that.
We were still a bit drunk that day.
And which City as well, like they took advantage of that. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a team down tools like that before. Not to have it, dig at you boys. Like, that was.
I was saying to Cal at the start of the year, after the Community Shield performance, and we've lost that 2 years in a row. I'm saying, I hope we make that our thing. I hope we lose the Community Shield every year. Well, just because it's like, it means you've won something, right? So if you've won the league or the FA Cup for the next 10 years, I'm happy with that. I'll just turf that. But I thought you guys performed well in that game. I think, just in terms of the football, I think we probably showed it up. But I think in terms of digging in, the quality on the goal, that you guys scored, I think that. Did you think that sort of gave you a bit of a launch pad, thinking like, look, these guys stomped the league last year, and we can beat them?
100%. It was a bit hard to comprehend because it was quite a mixed match lineup that Arsenal had. We didn't really go in with like a strong lineup going into the game, and to see Liverpool's lineup, it was scary. I'm not gonna lie, it was scary. But to see your likes of your Maitland-Niles, to see the likes of your Ceballos step in and be able to stick to what the manager sort of asked of them to do, and against a Liverpool team that's, like, let's be honest, they're probably the best team in the world, specifically what they do, and to have the balls.
That kills me inside, man.
But to have the balls that they had to listen to the manager, stick to the game plan, you're right, it did good.
Can I just say, why are you concerned about Liverpool being the best team in the world when you're not the best team in the world?
We never heard from you guys.
Not the best team
we
in
never
Manchester.
heard from you guys until you won the league last year. All of a sudden, you've come out of your shells. And
Yeah, and we've been hearing from you guys for the last 30 years.
because you've been winning things. The last 30 years.
Yeah, I grew up just watching Manchester United win just game after game after game. Games they didn't deserve, games they deserved, everything in between. I grew up with them just winning and winning. 90th minute goals, 85th minute winners. That was my whole childhood. Growing up watching that.
What was it like for you? Because you had told people you support Manchester City like back in the day, and they would have been like, "There's another team in Manchester."
Yeah, but it was actually alright because when Oasis were big, that's how pretty much people associated Oasis with City. So there was that, they were cool from that regard, not for what they did on the pitch.
Yeah.
So there was relegations. 96 was the year they went down to Division 1 and then down to Division 2, 98-99 season, and then there was a bit of yo-yoing in between with up and down, and then Kevin Keegan, all that sort of era. So it was for outside observers, it was interesting because there was never a dull moment. But as a fan, it was a roller coaster. And obviously with United, I grew up in Ireland, so everybody supported United as a kid. Again, just jumping on the success bandwagon, and that's the way it works. But there's a lot of legacy Liverpool fans in Ireland as well, and then Leeds are quite big as well because they had big connections in the 70s with Irish players playing for Leeds. So City were an afterthought. So would the likes of Chelsea have been up until the Abramovich era came in. So people didn't really hate City; they just felt sorry for them. So it kind of you didn't really, you got pity more than abuse, I suppose, would be the way it went.
And which do you prefer?
Yeah, I prefer the abuse. It's great. There's nothing better than people hating you because you're good.
Yeah.
It's really like, and that's the thing, as you say, about growing up with United, and that hatred comes from the fact that they were good. I despise Liverpool. I make no bones about it. The crowing from the supporters, God, they're the absolute worst. But again, they've a successful team, so they've earned the right to do it now. The issue with Liverpool was that they were doing it when they were rubbish. So
what I was going to say is it's not true that you haven't heard from us in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
For the 3 weeks leading up to every season, you heard about how
Yeah.
and now we just finally did.
And do you know what? Just to back what Neil's saying, and I'm probably gonna get denounced as a Man United supporter after saying this, but as a club, as Liverpool, the rivalry, absolutely dislike him. The football you guys are playing the last couple of years, as a pure football fan, it's really
it's annoying.
It's
it's annoyingly good to watch. It's
I don't think
annoyingly
there's
good to
any
watch.
argument. I mean, and people, there's
And-
you go on the right Reddit, the right forums or whatever, and you
Yeah.
see people saying, it's just long ball rubbish
Nah,
over the top of the start, and it's just
brilliant.
like,
It's
look,
brilliant
if you step too high on us, we will go over the top.
Yeah.
If you stay deep, we'll cut you open. There's like
And what makes you guys even scarier going forward is the signing of Thiago, because most of your attacking has been done through the sides with Robertson and Alexander Arnold. Now Thiago's got a 360-degree angle
someone who can
playing.
pass
He can
backwards a
play,
lot.
but he can also penetrate the lines. He can penetrate the lines. So maybe Firmino might get on a score sheet this season.
I was going to say, going on from a team who needs some sympathy and ridicule, well, sympathy. In a couple of years, it's going to be 20 years since Arsenal won the Premier League. Like, have you realised that? Like, just like that.
That's gone, hasn't it?
And if they go 20 years without winning
Mm.
it, then you'll go 10 years without winning it.
Yeah, it's a decade now. That's a long
Like-
time. That's a long time.
Do you even contemplate that? Because I only say that because all I heard was it's been 30 years, it's been 30 years, it's been 30 years, and it goes like this.
Because it was 20. It was 20, and then all of a sudden it was 30.
It
That
goes
was
like
that's
this.
how it feels.
And it's like,
and-
do you look like you're going to win the league in the next 3 years?
Do you know what? It's like when...
I like how you just slid there.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you this.
I don't want to.
But you know what? It's I'll be honest with you. When David Moyes was signed, I thought, okay, rebuild. When Van Gaal came in,
You have to rebuild.
no, when Van Gaal came in, I thought, okay, here we go. And then it was working, then it wasn't working. And then when Mourinho came in, I went, okay, here we are. We're in town now. We've got one of the greatest managers of all time. Paul Pogba's here, Lukaku's here, Ibrahimovic came the next year, and we get 82 points, which would have won us the league in most years. But you guys went and got 100 or 90 something points, and you won the league then.
They didn't get 100.
Yeah, 90 something points. And you won the league then. I know you're not taking that. I know you're not taking that. I caught myself. So during then, I've had hope. I've said, okay, Jose's here. He's the man, one of the greatest managers ever. United are back. And then he goes, and then Ole comes in, and I'm sitting there looking. We are nowhere near Liverpool squad, nowhere near Man City squad. Chelsea probably slightly better.
I said no mention of Chelsea.
And at the moment, the way Arsenal are playing, we spoke about how Arteta's got them playing their brand of football. And Tottenham again with my man Jose over there. I don't even think we're really, really going to struggle to make top 4 this year. I think I really do with the squad we have.
On that note,
With the squad we have.
On that note, before we finish off, it's the last couple of seconds left. I'm just going to go around through here. Give us your top 4 in that order.
Oh, in that order.
You got to give a few
Yeah.
words for justifications.
No, I think there's Liverpool is daylight. Daylight puts it to the rest. I think. I would have expected Chelsea to be in there, given the signings that they made. But again, you're going to have that period of gelling as a squad, and now changing the goalkeeper, you're looking at that situation as well. So yeah, I mean, it might have to be another year of wait for Chelsea to crack maybe top 4, very realistic, but to challenge or be in the top 2, probably another year away. So I'd go with Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and Spurs if they can keep their team fit. But any injuries to Son or to Kane, that sort of thing there, and yeah, exactly. So they're in a bother. Outside of their, what will kill Spurs is a lack of depth. I think Arsenal have better depth in their squad, for example. So
They've already dropped points to Newcastle without these.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I think if you're looking for any bets this year, it's just penalty in every game. With the way it's looking in the
That's
Premier League at the
ridiculous,
moment
isn't
with all
it?
the decisions. But no, I'd say yeah, I'll go with Spurs for now.
Malcolm?
I think, man, as much as it pains me again, Liverpool to win it. I can see him winning it again by a long shot as well. Because I think the other teams at the moment just too inconsistent. Chelsea are going to have to. Lampard's going to need time to build that squad and make sure that they gel and get the right combination. So I still think Chelsea will make the four alongside Spurs, and I think United and City are going to be fighting for the fourth spot. I really do. So I think in that order: Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, United, City.
Oh, wow. Yeah, again, the signing of Thiago, it changes everything, absolutely everything. So I think that's Liverpool with daylight there. I honestly believe City and Chelsea are both in transition, so it's going to be really hard to tell who's going to get that second spot. So second spot is actually up for grabs for me. So I'll probably just edge City there on that, just based off experience. And again, yeah, probably Chelsea and then United fourth. Liverpool, City.
You're not mentioning Arsenal? You don't think you're going to get
Look, I think we will get back in the top six. I am quite hopeful of that. But again, consistency. Arsenal's all about being consistent, isn't it? You never really know what team's going to show up, but it's looking good.
We can't finish the show without speaking about Arsenal and not ask what's happening with the £300,000 a week man, Mesut Ozil. What's going on there?
To be fair, he's been iced out. Hey, I think Dennis Bergkamp had on him on that one. You know what I mean? Yeah. Look, to be honest, I feel just football in general, unless you're an exceptional player like your Hudson Silvers, your De Bruyne's and that. The number 10, the traditional 10 is...
It's gone, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, you have to be able to play within a system and you have to be able to do the job. And then if you can be creative within your job, then you will.
Because I don't see how he fits into that new system at Arsenal at all. So...
Sean, who you got?
He's just so good. I can't believe that you can not get him into a 10. Not now, not over the last few years, but gee, when he went there, when I was at Real Madrid,
my goodness.
One of the best players in the
Do
world.
you remember that World Cup? 2010 World Cup?
Probably still is one of the best players in the world.
The Real Madrid side with him and Di Maria and Kaká was just brilliant.
So you want my four? I'd be the absolute botler if I don't say. I actually I'll take a slightly different angle because I think
Everton?
It's going to be a very different. I think Everton could push top four. If they carry the way they've been playing, it's lights. You talk about good football. It's like, Jesus, oh my God! I'm watching James Rodriguez. It's just as much as I don't like seeing him in a blue shirt. He's something else. So I think they could push it. I think it's going to be closer than you guys. I think give credit. I think the short pre-season, the packed fixtures, makes it just a difficult season for everyone. And you talk about Manchester United looking like they're still on pre-season. I mean, we shipped 3 goals to promoted Leeds and looked like we were still in pre-season. Got the win and got the points, which I think is most important at this stage. But I don't think we're going to have it, especially from those first couple of games. Chelsea, I think we battered and then got the deserved red card and went on to win that. But I think a lot of teams are going to give us troubles, and I think we're not going to get anywhere near 98 points, 97 points. I think we'll be high 80s would be a guess, and I think there's a few other teams that if things go right and they get a bit of luck, and I think every shirt is sitting at this table in that group, that if you go on a run and you get a few decisions your way and you don't have injuries and City and Liverpool get injuries, I think this season could actually be there for anyone. I think Thiago, like you said, is a game changer. So I really felt that before Thiago. After seeing him play for 45 minutes now, I'm confident again. But I think the top 4's all sitting at the table. I think City, United, Arsenal, Liverpool. And it's not just saying because you guys are here. I don't see Spurs paper-thin squad. Mourinho self-destructs when things start going wrong. And he could end up getting sacked by... What month are we in now? September? He might not be there by Christmas. Like, if things go well...
That's the dream though, right? Like, get the new job, get the payout, and then be close with your kids after being paid out for Christmas.
But yeah, the challenges to that spot are going to be... Has anyone mentioned Chelsea are in transition? I think they're going to have games where they just turn the lights out. But that also had... they got battered by Brighton, and like I think we've put them to the sword even before. There's all this revisionist sort of stuff when people say, they didn't even have a shot up until the red card. Yeah, but the red card comes from you hacking someone down who's through on goal because, because you've been exposed. And so Chelsea, I just can't pick. They could be second or they could be 10th. I'll stick with the 4 here. I'll go Liverpool, City, Arsenal, United.
The pressure's on because if Lampard doesn't get top 4 or win a trophy this year with the amount of investment made, the pressure's going to be on. The pressure's going to be on.
It's going to be really hard to sack him.
I think so.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
he's a
really,
legend.
really hard to
isn't he?
say.
Like,
Have you forgotten who owns Chelsea?
Yeah, I don't
The most
think it- I
ruthless
don't
man
think
in
it
world
matters.
football.
very true.
You can win a Champions League
Yeah.
and then get sacked. Doesn't- I don't think he's going to have too much loyalty to Frank Lampard.
Look, I would never wish for any manager to get sacked or lose their job. maybe that's the coach in me coming in.
Tomorrow, I'd love Guardiola when I come out.
I wouldn't wish that on it. I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
I love that.
But the reality is, I think the pressure will be on. So Chelsea have to deliver this year. They have to.
Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did.
I could go for another hour.
We probably will, but that'll be outside the camera. So you all take care, and thanks for watching.